What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JaAR. JaAR, for those of you who may be new, stands for Joe.
And Amy.
Review. And we are here once again to talk about the Eldritch Moon story. We are in full swing at this point. This story was an early release compared to the other stories. The other stories are almost always released on Wednesdays. This story was released on a Monday because it coincided with the Access Magic video that Magic put out with Jimmy Wong interviewing Mark Rosewater, talking about this set, and showing the trailer, which the trailer was fantastic, awesome. And then
the Access video was a little bit longer, though.
Fair enough, because I think it was less than 6 minutes long, if I remember correctly, about 5.5. And they did say they're going to do 2 more. They're going to do another one for the next 2 Mondays. They're going to have 2 more of those videos. And part of that 5.5-minute video was the trailer, and the end part was the community manager from whatever talking. So it really wasn't even 5.5 minutes long because it was, most of it was taken up by that. So yeah, I think it's cool that they had Jimmy Wong, a YouTube personality, interviewing Mark Rosewater. I thought that was nice. He's, they've kind of taken Jimmy in as a member of the Magic community, which I appreciate. That's really awesome to see that because, hey, YouTube Magic people I think are pretty cool.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you're welcome. I genuinely don't think I'm there yet, but we're trying. And let us know what you think. Subscribe.
Not there, you're here.
Wow. Hi, awesome. Oh my God. Anyway, so yes, the Access Magic video came out. They previewed 1 card during that video, and it was kind of the answer to the mystery that they had been building to throughout Shadows over Innistrad, and they made a big deal out of that. Right. Well, and that I believe Cardboard Crack had a webcomic about that, or a comic about that, where they it was a player who went up to Mark Rosewater, and they were like, so the mystery is it's just Emrakul, right? And Mark was like, we can't tell you. And he was like, all right, but seriously though, I figured it out. It's Emrakul, right? And he was like, it may be or it may not be. Can't confirm or deny. And then in the third panel, it was just Mark Rosewater, and he was like, guess what, guys? It was Emrakul. And the person's like, I am so shocked.
Right.
Which is
oh my gosh.
Super funny to me because we in this video have talked about, way in the beginning when people were saying, oh, we suspect it to be Emrakul. And then kind of towards the end of the Shadows over Innistrad story where we were like, it's almost definitely Emrakul. And then by the time they revealed that it was Emrakul, it was like, oh, okay. And it's Emrakul, the Promised End is the name of the card.
Which is a cool card name.
Yes, and it's a 13/13 for 13 mana, which is actually a downgrade from the previous Emrakul, but is flavorful for Innistrad because of the number 13 and the darkness and stuff like that, so that kind of makes sense. It is a power downgrade. I will probably talk for a moment, because I promised I would, about my feelings on it. I feel like there are 2 different camps of Emrakul, and maybe Amy, maybe you're in a third, you let us know, but from what I've seen at least, there are kind of 2 camps following the announcement of Emrakul, which is half of the people are like, oh my God, this is amazing, how incredible, it's Emrakul, we finally get to see Emrakul again, I've wanted to see her back since Rise of the Eldrazi, and the other half were like, really? We just had an Eldrazi block, and now you're doing Eldrazi again in this block? Come on.
And so for me, it's just a logical continuation of the same story.
Okay, from Oath of the Gatewatch leading right into Shadows over Innistrad, and okay. I think my feeling of it is I would consider myself to be of the camp of people who are not happy that it's Emrakul, but I will say that because it is, and there is nothing that we can do about the fact that it is, because it is Emrakul, I will say that the way that the story was done was beautifully done. I think that it makes perfect sense. I think that it flows logically. It did not seem like, which is what I was afraid of, it did not seem like people liked Innistrad, people liked Eldrazi, let's just smash them together and try to make tons of money off of it. And that kind of to me, felt like where they were going. I was like, whoa. Everybody loves Innistrad. They love that we're going back to Innistrad. The Gothic theme, the horror theme. Like, why do you need to cram Eldrazi into it? And yet, as Amy said, it seemed like the logical continuation.
Yeah.
I think, for me, the other reason that I was upset originally was just because of the fact that I think that I'm of the belief that returning to things after a long time is better. You leave people wanting more. And so following Oath of the Gatewatch, it was very clear. Oh my god, they killed Ulamog. Oh my god, they killed Kozilek. Where's Emrakul?
Right.
We knew that there was a third. It was part of Ugin's Insight, I believe was the card.
Yeah.
There was a card that had the flavor text, don't forget they come in 3.
Right.
Like, it reminded you that Emrakul still exists. They know that Emrakul still exists. Emrakul is not on the plane of Zendikar, so you don't know where she went. Let that question build up in people's heads. Let people continue to wonder. You know, maybe you pepper in a little bit here and there in other sets of, like, you know, the question or in the story or something like that. And then 6 months down the line, a year down the line, a block down the line, Emrakul comes up again and you go, oh, there she is. Man, I've been waiting for this forever. And that was my thought. And now, again, I don't necessarily still think that, because I think that the way that they did this was perfect. Does that mean in my mind that they should have waited to do this set and or block until later? Maybe. But the way that the story is continuing, you could not have. Because as we found out in this, Jace has now planeswalked back to Zendikar. He has found Chandra. And at least Chandra and Gideon,
Right.
You know, it's almost definite that Nissa is there as well. It's her home plane. Where else would she go?
But then there's the thought, too, is she going to go?
Well, and...
Or is she just going to stay on Zendikar?
And in the trailer, it did show the 3 members of the Gatewatch along with Jace fighting the Eldrazi, so...
I'm just saying, if you hadn't seen the trailer, then that could have been a thought that would have...
Definitely a question. And to be fair, it may come up where Nissa may be like, look, I just saved my plane. Like, could I stay here for a little while? You know, as opposed to, like, Jay showing up and be like, found the 3rd one, let's go. And everybody's like, cool. And they all just jump over there. You know,
let's go fight more Eldrazi because it was a fun time before.
So, yeah. So I think that, you know, that's just my personal opinion in terms of how I appreciate storytelling. I would have preferred to have let it build a little bit more. But...
Well, I think the other argument for that same argument...
Okay.
would be that it makes sense not to sort of, as you said, cram, all of these likable things together, because then what do you do next?
Yep. Well, and...
all the good things are taken, and now, okay, we just have smack rolls of whatever left over to do for for the next sets.
Right.
And then are people going to care?
Right. Well, and the other thing is, we, to a degree, talked about this earlier on in this series. Coming into this set, into this block, we talked about the fact that we left Zendikar, right? And on Zendikar, it was, oh my god, every minute of every day is a fight for our lives.
Right.
We need to combat the Eldrazi. We need to combat the fact that they are ruining our plane, and once they have ruined our plane and gained enough power, they're just going to go to another one. Right. So if we don't stop them here, they're going somewhere else, and we'll all die in the process. So we need to come together here and now and stop this threat. It was a fantastic story of, differing races and, genders and etc. coming together to combat a common enemy. And that's kind of a universal thing that anyone could understand. The enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of a thing, and I think they did a very good job of that. Going into Shadows over Innistrad, my question was, you go from giant alien world eaters to werewolves. and vampires and zombies, which on their own, if you don't start with giant alien world eaters, werewolves and zombies and vampires are a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
But following giant...
pretty popular right now.
Yes. And but
in the scheme of,
pop culture. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It did seem like, even in this story, when they killed... Leader Coleman, I think his name was, the big guy with the tentacle arm that they showed with the jowls.
Yeah.
They cut his head off, and after they cut his head off, he kept chanting. That's very zombie.
Yeah.
Because you have to destroy the brain, and he only stopped chanting when they cleaved the head in half, and then all the lattice work came out, or exploded out.
So cool.
It was really cool, but again, that's very zombie. If you want to go with the zombie thing right now on The Walking Dead, a lot. If a zombie's head gets cut off. Wow, that was terrible speaking.
Yeah.
Gets cut off. You'll still see the zombie and trying to bite the person, even though it's just a head now because they haven't destroyed the brain. So. That is very much, I noticed that as that's a very zombie trope thing to do. But my question was, hey, you're going from giant alien world eaters to zombies and werewolves, and how are you going to make that a thing? Well, originally they made it a thing by taking the only thing that any human on this plane was using for hope, which was the angels, and now turning them evil as well.
Right.
And originally that made sense, because it was okay, so everyone's going mad, no one knows what's going on, and now they have to contend with werewolves and vampires and zombies and spirits and geists and also angels. Now you're just throwing everything in the kitchen sink at them, and so it makes perfect sense. Now you're following it up with, oh, by the way, all of these terrible things are also now corrupted by giant alien world eaters. Okay, well, guess what? The next set is Kaladesh. So when we go to Kaladesh, what's going to be the conflict? Robots? Because they do mechanical stuff.
Pirates.
It's... but that's all we know about Kaladesh. It's Chandra's homeworld. It's very much Thopter based, and they have Thopter Spy Network, the Thopter Spy Network and stuff like that. So, that may just turn into a very kind of political themed set where it's a spy network. Who knows? And that's not what I'm...
They could make that pretty current as well.
They could. They definitely could.
Pretty apropos.
But I think it's interesting because, again...
Chandra 2016.
Because you ramp it up, right?
I would vote for her over anyone else.
Wow. We're getting super political today, folks. Anyway, but you ramp it up so much from, Khans of Tarkir was a fantastic story. Khans to Fate Reforged to Dragons was great. Time travel, dragons taking over. You have Khan leaders of the tribes, and that was fantastic. Kind of going into Eldrazi, and that was fantastic. Going into Gothic, and that was really cool. And now into robots and possibly political intrigue. Could be really cool. Yeah. I think it's just... I think it could be. I will look forward to it.
Maybe.
But, it is a big maybe. And to be fair, this has nothing to do... this is not me saying anything bad against Wizards, because I think that they have done a fantastic job on everything that they've done up to this point. I mean, we would not be standing here continuing to do this series if it was wow, they just suck now.
These stories are shitty, and we're commenting on how they're shitty.
Yeah, because, every once in a while it'll be oh, my problem with this story was this, but it's that one thing. You know what I mean? It's not, wow, this whole story was garbage, but we're going to talk about it now. No, these have still been great, and I hope that they will be able to kind of push into Kaladesh in the same way, where you're going to be going from such... I mean, this story in and of itself felt crazy to me. It felt urgent. Everything is falling apart. And in some of the cards that we've seen spoiled, even up to, later on in the week, after the Access Magic story, where they talked about... they showed the kind of the Eldrazi card. The fact that the little symbol on the set symbol is a giant Eldrazi octopus
that's so cute.
is amazing. Yes, it's incredible. And you know what? Honestly, like the set symbol's really cool. I want more than all 5 of those D20s. I want them all. With those little set symbol, with that little set symbol on it, I want every D20 that I could possibly get my hands on.
Oh my god.
Incredible.
You have too many already.
I do, and in fact, I don't know that you guys know, but on our little backdrop here, these are full of D20s. So I have enough to fill this land bridge here. But yeah, I want all of them because that set symbol is going to be the best looking.
It's pretty cute.
It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. So I want all of them. But yeah, so that was really cool. I think in terms of like to go into the story itself, I loved the way that they transitioned between, because it's just another way of storytelling. They did the storytelling with the letters with Gisa and Geralf. They did the storytelling with going into the past and then going a few years into the future, but then present day, and like they were able to specify, and they've been doing a really good job of that recently, and we've discussed that in past episodes. But in this one, they did it specifying the area of Innistrad that the characters were in, and we got to revisit. Or I'll ask if you have an opinion. Who were you happiest to see again of the kind of menial characters that had been sprinkled among the Shadows over Innistrad story?
The kid.
Melee.
Yeah.
Melee, the little boy with the little stuffed rabbit, which was awesome. That picture was so cool. With him with the 2 kind of soldiers behind him, and he's got the little stuffed animal, and he's praying to Avacyn, but like at one point he's yelling into the rabbit because he's so scared.
Yeah, it's so cute.
It was really cute. It's also super sad because his mom basically sacrificed herself to save him, and now he's just among all of this corruption.
And he doesn't even have a lightning scar after all of that.
Wow. That's because Avacyn had a nose. That was really the only reason.
Oh.
It was the only
makes
reason.
sense.
Because Avacyn had a nose when she,
I made a few Harry Potter references during this story, though.
That's true. That's true. And I can't
I was
offhand...
like, it's the Shrieking Shack.
Oh, right. Because they were talking about the corruption outside, and the fact that, like, the moss was growing legs and walking around, and the fact that the trees were alive, the branches were reaching out from the Whomping Willow, and the buildings were yelling and stuff. So, I mean, everything is going crazy. Everything. We saw the writhing township. So the entirety of Hanweir is now just walking around as an Eldrazi. That card was revealed. That's hilarious to me.
I love that card. And if you're familiar with the movie Howl's Moving Castle, I was like, Joe, you have to... It's like Howl's Moving Castle. You just Google it. Just Google image it. And we'll just look at it.
Yeah.
And tell me what you think.
You guys can do the same at home. First of all, if you have not seen Hanweir the Writhing Township, look it up, because it's a card that's been spoiled from the set. So look that up, and then do like a side-by-side comparison for yourself. See if you agree with Amy. The Hanweir the Writhing Township, compare it to Howl's Moving Castle, and see if they match up for you.
And then if you haven't seen Howl's Moving Castle, see that, because it's like one of my favorite movies.
Fair. Amy does really enjoy Howl's Moving Castle. So, and we will, I'm sure that'll just be the nickname of that card when, not if, but when we do our openings of it. Shameless plug. Subscribe down below. You'll find out when we do all of those openings. I'm super psyched for it, even though they've only spoiled like 3 or 4 cards from the set with the flip werewolf guy, the Coax from the Blind Eternities, which...
I love the name of that card.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Oh, and the art.
Yes,
amazing.
Which they showed in the story as well. So if you guys have not read the story for whatever reason, it's in there. Do it. Definitely do it.
You're doing it wrong. Read the story first.
Now, so you mentioned that seeing Melee was your favorite part of this story, or was your favorite returning character at least.
Yeah.
My favorite returning character, and it's because it was something that I had a question about for a while. I was happy to see Bruna / Gisela / technically neither of them back again.
Yay!
That
the
was
evil stepsisters.
Oh my god, it was fantastic, and that art was perfectly disgusting. Perfectly disgusting. And you know what? Going into reading this story, I will say the story came out Monday. I'll let you a little behind the scenes. We're filming this on Wednesday because that's usually when the stories come out, so that's the time that we devote to film these. So we're filming this on Wednesday. It's coming out on Friday, which is earlier than our typical release because they messed us up with releasing it on Monday, which was the day that we usually release these videos. So our last week's video came out the day they released the next story. So regardless, no hard feelings. It's just, it's Wednesday and it's late. But yeah, so we... they talked about all these cards and they spoiled them and it was very interesting to see on Monday when I saw that picture being shown around of Bruna / Gisela. I looked at it and I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
I was like, that's incredible.
Gross.
I love it and I want to know what it's about.
Loves that
It's
art.
so cool.
I saw it like, ugh.
It's so cool. Again, comments down below, Facebook and Twitter. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or neither? That art's fantastic. It looks so cool.
You know me, I like gore. I like, it depends. I like weird conglomerations of gory, awkward things.
Yeah.
And that one just does not appeal to me.
Amazing. And I hope that they do that card well. Whatever that card is going to be, whatever's going to be that creature, whatever, or if it's like a spell that will cause two creatures to become like that or something, I hope that they do that card correctly. And we'll see, once that card gets spoiled, because it's almost certainly going to be a card. There's almost no way it won't be. And you know what? The same thing with the leader, Coleman guy. With the jowly guy. He looks incredible. And you know what, actually... He looks a little bit to me, just with the way he was dressed, he looked a little bit like the Risen Executioner. Old card, old set, you can look it up for yourself. But that was what he looked like, but I believe the Risen Executioner was a skeleton, so maybe, whatever. But I'm looking forward to seeing what this art turns into with cards. So yeah, I liked that a lot. I think it's going to be interesting, and I hope that it's not too much of a cluster. But this story ended with Jace planeswalking to Zendikar to get the rest of the Gatewatch. Now...
Finally.
Right. Now, the promo art for this set in the trailer, I guess technically, I've already spoken about it, but technically spoilers if you haven't seen the trailer. But in the trailer, it shows Liliana being the one who's just raising a necromantic zombie army and just fighting Emrakul, which is fantastic. This is also a rumor at this point. It has not technically been confirmed, but if it is true, the rumor is that the name of the new Liliana card is Liliana the Last Hope, which, if that's the case, that's incredible. I have not heard anyone who has been talking about that name who has been like, that's stupid. Like, no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
If that's what it is. If it's not, okay, then it's not, and it was a rumor and whatever, but if it's true, that sounds so cool.
Yeah, I hope it is.
Right. But regardless, my point was, Jace is going to get the Gatewatch, which means you're going to have Jace, and Chandra, and Nissa, and Gideon, and Liliana. So first of all, you're going to have all 5 main planeswalkers from Magic Origins. You're also going to have Tamiyo, Nahiri, Sorin, and Arlen Cord. That's 9 planeswalkers.
Well, but Nahiri's not going to be fighting.
Nahiri might be fighting Sorin.
Well.
Because...
And plus, we don't know where Sorin went, because he allegedly
he floated away. That's what Jason and Tamiyo were saying. And
then, I wouldn't have even thought that Tamiyo would be fighting, because she spent so much time being like, oh, I don't give a crap. And then now in this one, you remember, I was sitting there going, what the hell? This doesn't sound like they just keep flip-flopping on what Tamiyo is supposed to be like right now.
And I agreed with Amy.
Me off.
The discussion...
And just decide what her stance is, or even if she's changing her stance, that's fine.
but explain that to us.
Yeah,
maybe?
like have her go through the process of changing her mind.
Yeah.
Not just, oh, well, I forgot that she didn't like this before and now she does.
Well,
like,
and
it just seems like poor storytelling on in my opinion, just on her character.
Right.
Everything else feels flawless, but that to me is very odd.
Well,
and out of place. And maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe they're being very deliberate in that. Because maybe we'll go on to find out more about Tamio and that will be explained.
Maybe they'll explain it later on. My thought was, and Amy and I had this discussion a little bit when it first came up in the story, and Amy brought it up. My only thought was, originally when Tamio was talking to Jace, the first time we saw her in the story, she mentioned like, well, look, this is what's happening to this plane, and I'm going to let it happen, and I'm going to observe. One of two things, in my opinion, could have happened to explain it away. Why she is now willing to combat Emrakul. First of all, it could be because originally she was just trying to not get involved.
Right.
You know, she was like, I don't want anyone to see me, I'm trying to be super stealthy, and then because she has now been found and she has inserted herself, now she has to make sure that she finishes it.
Okay.
That was part one. That was my first thought.
I guess
My
so.
second thought, which is the one that I give a little bit more credence to, is that Tamio wants to see a plane handle its own problems for itself. Emrakul is not the plane's own problem.
Yeah.
This is Nahiri's fault. She, as a planeswalker, has come to this plane as an outsider and has brought Emrakul also as an outsider to burden this plane with,
Right.
which is not something that they are prepared to
But-
handle.
But the question is, how much of that does Tamio really know?
Well, I mean, she knows that Emrakul is not of this world. I mean, she's with Jace.
Right.
So Jace is like, oh, it's an Eldrazi. They're from the Blind Eternities, blah, blah, blah. Like, he can at least tell her all of those things. Who knows? I'm with Amy in that I believe that they will hopefully show that to us in either a Tamio-focused story. Tamio as a card, I suspect, will be in this set.
Right.
They haven't officially confirmed that yet, but I've been saying that for weeks and months now. So hopefully, maybe, kind of, sort of, we'll see. But yeah, I thought that this story was great. I thought that it did a very, very good job of, first of all, being, I think, one of the shortest stories that we have read recently. And yet, it focused on so much.
Yeah.
It went
it
to...
got a lot done in a
Yes,
little time.
yes, and it was incredibly done from that perspective.
Right.
In the fact that they were able to cover so much over such a short period of time. So props on that one, as we always, congratulate the Wizards story team for that. It was incredible. They were able to go back to all of these different characters that we had met. Elena, Hal, Melee, Gisela, Bruna, and, Gisela, Bruna combined into one. Jason, Tamio as well were there at the end. Technically, Chandra and Gideon were also in this story. Chandra had like one line, and Gideon just kind of tromped over and didn't really say anything, but he smiled. So all
in
of
Gideon's way.
Gideon, I'm looking for. I mean, Gideon in Oath of the Gatewatch and in Battle for Zendikar was funny. I appreciated Gideon a lot. I was surprised by how funny a kind of a staunch fighter was.
But I don't think he was trying to be funny.
No, and I think he was funniest in his interactions with funnier people.
Okay.
The way that they had him interacting with funnier people was the way that he was the most funny.
Okay, yeah.
So, we'll see, how that works. I'm interested to see how the things that I'm still waiting for. And, if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be upset like I was saying that I would be with Arlen Cord. I would love to see how Arlen continues to play a part. That'll be cool. I would love to see how Olivia continues to play a part, because she was mobilized for war in the last set, and we only saw her talking to Sora.
That whole war...
Which is...
never happened.
Well, it
hasn't happened yet.
I was going to say, maybe it's about to. I want to see how Gisa and Geralf play into this, especially Gisa. I think that her interactions with Liliana could be incredible, and it seems like they're leading in that direction. Now, maybe Liliana will have too much on her plate. Maybe she won't to actually deal with that. Maybe that's like not on her radar at all. We'll see. And my other thing that at this point that I'm really interested to see is I want to see how they resolve this. I actually genuinely hope that they are not able to kill Emrakul, but that Emrakul runs away and goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because I think that then you can do what I was talking about, which is get Emrakul to go somewhere else, and then you're like, well, where did she go? Where will she pop up next? And you never know. And then when she does, hopefully like 2 or 3 blocks down the line, you're like, oh, there she is, finally, and then what and what have they learned in the process to allow them to now take care of her? So,
but at the same time, I mean, during Battle for Zendikar, we spent a lot of time talking about what we needed to do to defeat Eldrazi, and I personally spent a lot of time going, oh my god, like, sort of almost feeling the anxiety slightly of the people on Zendikar and wanting badly for them to be able to defeat them.
Yeah.
But after the fact, I'm realizing that's just one small amount of time. That's just one small collection of stories in a long span of stories that they're going to be having to do for God knows how long.
Yeah.
So if you've killed off the Eldrazi...
Yeah, you have to find other villains. And
right. And
now,
they have to be big and powerful and scary
in
their own right.
And
they can't just be copies of what you've already done.
Right.
They've got to be new things.
Right. Now, Ob-Nixilis is still out there.
Yeah.
Nicol Bolas is still technically maybe out there. I don't have enough information as to whether Nicol Bolas was... even though Nicol Bolas did not kill Ugin, did he die? Highly doubt it, but still. So Nicol Bolas is still out there. Garruk is still out there, who a lot of people thought was going to be around here. The Garruk that was corrupted by Liliana, corrupted by the Chain Veil. So seeing him again, seeing the Phyrexians again. There are a lot of different things that they could do. Would it be cool to see the Phyrexians in Kaladesh kind of manipulating the machinery there? Yes. Maybe.
Cyborgs.
Right.
I'm kidding.
Hey, who knows? We don't really know. We'll see as we get to that point. But that's just looking into the future and knowing that, this is where we're going, guys. Here we are, and Eldritch Moon's finally here. I'm super excited to see what we're getting out of this stuff. As the cards continue to be spoiled, like I said, I think there are only 3 or 4 at this point that have actually been spoiled. I'm excited to see how the Hanweir the Writhing Township works, because it doesn't have a mana cost, and it has the little Eldrazi symbol, which a lot of people are saying, oh, it's a flip Eldrazi. Maybe, but they didn't, at least from what I saw, they didn't show the other side. So is the only way to get to the Hanweir Township to use Coax from the Blind Eternities to get that Eldrazi from outside of the game into the game? Because if so, that doesn't really work for limited, and I'm more of a limited player than a constructed player. The card seems super powerful.
I mean, that mechanic, although it's super weird, makes sense with the story.
Correct. Because you're pulling it from somewhere else.
There's a lot of flavor to it, but
it's
how that corresponds to working for the game, I have no idea.
It's a little complicated. It seems like too many steps. But you know what? Again, I'm not a game designer. Everyone who works for Wizards are game designers, and I will give them the benefit of the doubt until I have seen it. These are just pure speculation on my part.
Especially, we're early on in the game. So we just got to see where it goes.
Yeah, and like I said,
we say that in this show too often.
But it's true. And to be honest, when we said it originally at the beginning of Shadows over Innistrad and the beginning of this series, we are there now, and we are able to discuss how we have gotten there. They introduced Hal and Elena, and my point was, what the hell was the purpose of it? We haven't, when are we going to see them again? Well, we've seen them again, and it worked out really well. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the way they did it. I'm looking forward to seeing whether we see them again, whether we see Melee again, whether that's just like a quick wrap-up story, kind of like this one was a quick intro / wrap-up. We'll see how that all goes. I'm looking forward to it. I am enjoying the ride so far.
Yeah.
Personally, it's been going really well. So that's all I have to say, I think, for this one. I loved it. I really did. Amy's going to be upset that this is how we're going to close it off. But from the Geek for All YouTube channel, I am Rakul.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, guys, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.